Hey everybody, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing well and is having a good weekend. Think as we've been talking about for a while, things are picking up. If we actually look on to our screen to the right here, we actually have a meso discussion here that's discussing 1 inch an hour snowfall rates becoming more common over the next few hours here. So this is mainly located across parts of northern Oklahoma and also parts of central and east central Kansas here. New meso discussions will probably be anticipated tonight, so areas off to the north and east do need to be on the lookout here. I can't guarantee just how much snow will end up falling with this, but it's always these meso discussions that you have to pay attention to the most. This is correlating perfectly with where the hotspot was in yesterday's video when we talked about the potential with this system. So no real surprises there, but this could indeed change the totals. Also, the duration will kind of go over that as well here. But make sure you guys are smashing that like button and hitting that subscribe button as well, because we're covering this and we're also going to be taking a look at what's ahead here. So we're going to kind of juggle around both screens. It's the first time I've done this from the start. But we're going to start out with severe weather, and we're going to also look at winter weather. Severe weather for the right now in the meantime, not really much of anything to talk about in the first 3 days. We already knew that going in, but on the days ahead after that, it's not till day 6 where we see a potential for severe weather, although the predictability is very low at this time. We'll get into the details with that, but we'll mainly be focusing on the winter weather side of things. If we look at what we're dealing with around current time right now, highest probability of snow is going to be a little bit further off to the east from here from this point based off of our latest update here. This is also showing probability of snow accumulation of 2 inches or greater. It's those areas in the pink where you have to pay a little bit more attention. That's when we're starting to get to that 70 to 80%, that 80, maybe 85 to 90% threshold here. So off of Lake Michigan, that was another hot spot that we were going to be talking about, or bullseye, so to speak. And then also, I've seen a little bit greater probability increase over here towards parts of northwestern Illinois here. So that's going to be another pocket that we'll need to be watching here. It's not too surprising, but we were kind of leaning more into that inch, maybe inch and a half threshold here. But it looks like confidence has definitely gone up a bit here, because we're now starting to get towards that 80% threshold now. If we go to the next time frame here, we continue to see that being consistent across the board here for northwest Illinois and of course Lake Michigan. Then as we continue to go forward here, we also see that storm system beginning to move north of the border here. But then, just as that's starting to happen, we're starting to see an increase in snow probabilities over towards the northeast by the time we get from Monday into Tuesday in particular. So we have to keep an eye on that as well. And then as we continue to go forward from Tuesday, pushing into Wednesday here, this off of Lake Ontario and Lake Erie here, we're starting to see that increase in snow potential here. Like I said, I was kind of suspicious of maybe the lake effect machine coming into play here. Maybe not as prevalent as some of the other times that we've seen it, but it could help induce a little bit of additional snowfall, maybe even some pockets of heavy snow. This looks to potentially be the case here. Because further out to the east you go, away from the lakes, we really don't see that much potential there. So definitely something to keep a close eye on there. If you're near, let's say, Buffalo, Albany, and areas, of course, close to the Great Lakes here. We'll do a video in due time that kind of discusses snowstorms and maybe even lake effect snow. I don't know if I'll make those videos separate or not, but anyway, let's go ahead and get into the models here and kind of take a look further into the long range here. So the way we have this set up is GFS is to the right, Euro is to the left here. But we'll start with GFS. Kind of have this in a loop here. So we'll start out looking at GFS, and we can see for the most part here, large amount of amplitude here, very large amount of amplitude to start out the month of December in particular, and some pretty stout storm systems across the board here. Of course, we're looking towards the upper levels of the atmosphere. We also are looking for a potential for severe weather setups. I think those will mostly be predominant across the southeast here, maybe towards Dixie Alley. But also these can also give us a little bit of a tell here as far as winter weather is concerned. So we'll actually stop this really quickly and kind of go into a loop from this point. So if we actually go ahead and start by looking at, we'll start it from the very beginning again. Okay, this is where we are now, and this is as we continue to go forward here. Weekend, we're not expecting a whole lot, but I would say Tuesday into Wednesday, that's the time frame that we start looking at. And this is the system that's kind of caught my eye first off here. This is 105 hours out, so just a little bit after, I would say 5 days, close to it. Kind of see a decent little look right here. See a little bit of a convergence and divergence setting up here, so that's something to keep an extra close eye on across the region. I think kinematics may come together here across Oklahoma and Texas once more to end out the month, but there's still a lot of uncertainty that I have with this, so I'm not going to really jump on board and say that okay, this is looking like a severe weather setup right now, but it's something to watch for sure on this end. But as we continue to go forward here, this is heading all the way into 168 hours. It's a week out from now. Amplitude isn't that impressive just yet. However, we do start to see this begin to build over here out west. We see a little bit of ridging actually going on, so we could see an increase in warmth over here. Also see more troughing here to the east, so this has definitely got that classic positive PNA setup look here. Then we see some extra energy over here at the upper levels from this system here. Almost tries to take the appearance of a cutoff low here, but this is also going to help induce a pattern change here as well as time goes on. So as we continue to look at the bar here, we're getting to 345 hours out. Pretty stout storm system off to the south here. This could increase the chance of severe weather. This could also increase maybe some winter weather potential on the backside of this possibly. But like I said, once we get to this range here, we're about 300 plus hours out. Not really a lot of validity that I can put into that right now. But this is just an indicator of what the pattern's going to be looking like as time goes on here. All right, so we're going to do the same thing with the euro here. Only going about 240 hours out this time. It's only 10 days. This has a little bit more limited range here, but you kind of see a similar look here. A little bit of congruency between the models, which is always a good thing. So like I said, definitely looking Wednesday, Thursday as far as severe weather potential is concerned. But beyond that point, I'm kind of seeing more along the lines of a bit more docile pattern to start out here. The later we get into the run here, the more interesting things begin to look. And here's where things really start to get my attention here, is the fact that we actually see more ridging going on out towards the east and a little bit more troughing out west. Of course, this is 12Z euro that's come in right now. We're waiting on 18Z actually in the time of making this video, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I do find that very noteworthy here. After that 10-day mark, though, of course, I do think that's when GFS was starting to switch over. So a lot of moving parts with that right there. We're going to switch over to a different level of the atmosphere so we can get a good look at the storm systems. So here we are looking at the 500 millibar region. This is a little bit more familiar. This is radar Omega that we're looking at. I'm better able to read the temperature and pressure charts on this than I am on the 250 range. So if we look at both of these models here, we're going to look at the time frames and look at them closely. GFS to the left, Euros to the right. A little different from what we usually do. I usually do the inverse, but I kind of just messed up there. But anyway, in the short term, looking at GFS, no real surprise there. You're going to see plenty of congruency between 250 to 500 millibars here. It's a little bit of a different. There's a decent difference in the height altitude here, but for the most part, it's pretty much a good bit of congruency, but we're getting a good look at those mid-level winds here, which is essential to both winter storm and severe development here. The main thing that I'm looking for and that I'm making note of here with these storm systems is there is a lot of lift with these, which bodes well for winter storm development. Also, on the flanks of I would say the southeastern flanks of these, there's a good bit of It's a good bit of kinematics here, so there could be something there. Like I said, I think for right now, the chances are still kind of few and far in between for severe weather still. It's not surprising for this time of year, but nonetheless, it's no surprise to see that we're getting a little bit more of that high shear type setup, because that's usually what we end up doing as we end up transitioning from the solstice into the equinox, or from the equinox into the solstice, so to speak, or vice versa. I cannot get that right now. But some main things, but like I said, pretty much the time frames are essentially the same here. So we'll be just keeping a close eye, starting really from Wednesday from that point onward here. Looking at the velocity here, it's no real surprise to see what we're seeing with that as well. We'll look at both of these the same. We'll kind of go one by one on this one. Starting with the GFS. Oh, I got the Euro up actually. But looking at the GFS, the vorticity is going to be a key factor in regards to looking at winter storm potential. It's pretty much going to be the same pressure outlook as the jet stream here, but we aren't going to be focusing so much on the kinematics here. Like I said, really this setup kind of bodes a little bit better towards severe weather. I think this will mostly be a linear event as we head towards next week, especially towards Thursday and Friday, but I think there could be some issues with large scale ascent and also just instability in general. But of course, around that same time frame, we're also seeing the potential here for another winter storm, maybe over here towards the Rockies. Mainly going to be towards more so the northern Rockies to start out with. That cold air just isn't really dipping super far to the south here. So we'll see what this ends up doing, because there's still plenty of time for this to evolve a bit more. But that's something that we're going to be keeping an extra close eye on there. This looks kind of interesting, but I'm not really willing to put a lot of merit into it yet. It looks like we have two different pieces of energy coming together and maybe trying to phase. And phasing is important when it comes to winter storm development as well as severe weather. But I'm thinking this will be a little bit more of a cold-based event starting out. But if this continues to kind of pull itself together here, we could maybe see another severe event to the southeast. Like I said, 200 hours out, not much validity that can be put into that. More questions than anything else at this point, but definitely something that's an eye catcher for sure on my end. But as we continue to go on here, see a big cool down looking like it's going to be on the way for the northeast in particular. So that's going to be something to watch. Then you see some ridging going on and another stout looking storm system around the 8th. So we've been talking about it before Thanksgiving, really before even the 20th, with that first severe weather event we saw. Pattern is definitely looking to change and become more active, and we're seeing that happen right before our eyes. No real surprises here. The question will be just how strong will these storm systems get? Now, of course, once we get past 300 hours, you can see some really crazy stuff sometimes during the winter. And this might be one of those. It doesn't look like it gets super duper cold here, but this is a pretty stout storm system. Maybe towards the Appalachian Mountains here, this could produce snow if it actually comes to fruition. But, like I said, 348 hours out. Too far out to really have any sort of concrete solution for anything right now. We'll just have to watch for a trend and see what happens with this. And then we see multiple storm systems coming after that as far as the northwest is concerned here, and we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. As far as the Euro, really we're going to be looking more so towards the end of this run for anything in particular that tries to catch our eye here. So starting out, like I said, no real surprises there. Get a little bit of cool air over towards the northeast, no real surprise there either. And then really it's not till later in the week where we start to see something here. Here's that storm system we were looking at earlier. Forms up pretty nice, but it mainly ends up being pretty warm core. But I think the track might inhibit good moisture return over here right now, according to the Euro. So like I said, good discrepancy between the models here. So that always leads to increased uncertainty. But I'm interested in this range here between 202 and 4 hours, because we're seeing a similar look where we may see some interaction between two storm systems here, some phasing going on. It's questionable still, like I said. Over a week out, Very difficult to tell what will happen with that. A lot of uncertainty, but we'll be, of course, watching the trend for that as well. But see this on two different models, does give me a little bit of reassurance there. And then after that, of course, we get to that 10-day period. We see that cool down, and then we start to see a little bit more active storm track towards the north here. So I guess now we're going to go ahead and take a look at how this will look on the air masses here, and we're going to probably see a lot more in the way of cooldowns ahead here. We'll move the Euro first, get the GFS to follow, and really starting out the month of December, like I said, we're definitely looking like we're starting out with that classic positive PNA setup. Then we do start to make a quick little transition to negative, but it looks like it's not going to be a long-lasting look here. We may end up flip-flopping a lot to start out the month of December, a lot like how most of November has been. So no real surprises there. GFS is pretty much showing a similar look starting out. And really, this is going to kind of confirm the hypothesis here when we get to that switch where we go from positive to maybe negative in the longer term possibly, especially towards maybe the back half of December. But of course, looking as far out as we are, things are very much prone to changing, and it wouldn't be surprising if they did. So keep an eye on the weather. Stay updated with the channel, really. So I guess now we'll go ahead and take a look at what our temperatures could look like here. We'll close those two out so that we don't keep those loops going. And we'll start out with the Euro, actually. We'll go left here. We'll go to the right, actually, excuse me. But you can see the cool down beginning to take shape here a bit more as we start out the month of December here. You see that cold air beginning to push a little further off to the east, especially that cold air from the north really starting to push more. Even some negative temperatures towards northern and north central Canada here. Nothing new for those guys there, but still going to be pretty frigid over there. One thing I will make note of here is you can actually see some of the frontal boundaries ahead here with some of these systems here. And this is why I have a little bit of increased concern as we get towards that, let's say, about 204 hour time frame on here. You can kind of, like I said, you can kind of see that frontal boundary kicking in. This is on the 4th of December here, according to the Euro. And then as we continue to go forward, we see that front go out by the 5th. And you can see pretty much the same thing with the GFS here. You see that front on the 1st here, not that impressive, but look at the stark contrast when you get to the 4th and into the 5th here. It's a little less impressive to start out with, but look at what happens right after. Look at the cold air that tries to make that advance deep into the south here. But like I said, it's a tale of two models here, and GFS and Euro are kind of in a little bit of disagreement here. Like I said, the Euro's kind of pushing for a little bit more of that positive PNA to remain. The GFS is kind of flip-flopping there. Looks like we're trending into a little bit more of a negative PNA. So a lot of questions to be had there. So next thing we're going to do is look at the Euro here. We're going to look to the left. Or to the right, excuse me. I don't know why I keep saying that. Usually I have Euro to the left. But if we go with the lightning flash density, this will kind of confirm things as far as what we were thinking about in regards to severe weather. Also, make sure that you're watching the weather very closely in Florida as well. Here's that system that I was talking about around the 1st. Not a super impressive one, but there could be some potential with that. I think it would be more of an early morning type thunderstorm threat. Could be a couple of pulse severe storms, but nothing crazy there. The 4th looks slightly more organized, or the 3rd into the 4th. But unfortunately, GFS doesn't have this feature as well, so this is as far out as I can go. A lot of different factors really coming into play with this, but for right now, the main thing that I've taken note of is the 1st, and then more so to the 3rd. The Euro's kind of liking the 3rd more. I'm thinking the 4th on GFS, if we look at the precipitation type here, we'll see a little bit of a different outcome here. So here is that GFS model, by the way. And we'll scroll down just a little bit more so that way we can see Florida just a little bit better here. Yeah, there we go. But you can see starting out from 36 hours. Chance of wintry precipitation, especially towards the mountains over here towards the northeast, towards the Adirondacks in particular. That is still looking pretty impressive across the board on the GFS here. No real surprise there. If we continue to draw from that point, it's definitely looking like another storm system begins to form around the 123-hour mark. This will be what rounds out the month here. Could be a little bit of action here for the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles here, maybe even some parts of New Mexico. And then here's that potential for that severe weather setup here. Looks a little bit better on this map than it has on some of the other model runs here. There was potential there, but I really think with the GFS in particular on this run, the setup for the third and fourth might be a little bit more impressive. Here's that low pressure here that's going to help be the catalyst behind the setup here. And I see a little bit more of a leniency towards the Gulf Coast states, and or a little bit more ideal setup towards the Gulf states here. Where that low ends up falling is going to be crucial as well, because this also could maybe bring just enough moisture forth here to bring some snow showers, maybe some snow flurries towards the Ohio Valley as well. As we continue to go, we see the next storm system come in, and this one has some decent potential with it actually, at least starting out. Like I said, if you look at the time frame, 324 hours out, can't put a lot of merit into that, but nonetheless here, this holds up. This could bring snow maybe even as far south as Kentucky and Tennessee if this holds. Like I said, it's very questionable right now. Very long time frame to track this storm here, so a lot of changes are possible, and if anything, I would say likely. But that's what we have going on with GFS. If we go to Euro here, of course, we're not going to be able to see as far. We're going about 10 days out. You can see a pretty similar look here. So current winter storm, shower and storm activity towards Florida, and the northeast comes into play. After that, we see our next system come in, and this is where we have that potential for a little bit of wintry activity over towards the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas. But notice that if we go back, the activity isn't as robust as what we were seeing on the GFS. However, this does kind of lean a little bit better with severe weather with the Euro here too. And then on the 4th, we kind of lose a little bit of that. I was thinking we were kind of going to see a better look on the 3rd and the 4th here, but as we continue to push off here, we start to see kind of a less favorable setup there. Then after that, as we get towards that 240-hour time frame, we see the Rockies coming back into play, and maybe a little Clipper system trying to kick in over here towards maybe the western half of the Great Lakes here, parts of the far northern reaches of the northwest of the Midwest here. But that being said, that's what it's like when you have the tale of two models, so to speak. That being said, a lot to keep track of here on the channel. Stay tuned. Going to be plenty more updates on here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, of course. But this is all I got for you guys tonight. I will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Till then, it's been Ty, Metalhead Weatherman. Till then, take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon.